What is up? What's happening? It is Tuesday night. Tonight we're going to talk about how to positively grow strongman. What's going on, guys? I'm just going to angle this up right. Make sure we're looking good. Smooth here. What's going on? Got a couple people that are here joining already. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna shift this over just a little bit more. So yeah, I always like these things to be interactive. So let's let this be a group discussion if you're here joining me, or if you're catching the replay. Always love to hear your thoughts, comments, whatever you think. But I was inspired to do this because there's explosive growth in strongman happening right now, and it's really a positive. But the main reason that I do things in general, and it's the reason that I started putting on shows, is I saw a lot of them being done in a poor way. Let's just put it that way. I didn't like the way they were run. I wanted to see shows done in a certain style. So that's why I got into promoting shows. It's not really any good to sit around and complain and say, like, oh, I wish strongman was more like that, or I wish strongman was a certain way. You got to be proactive. So that's what this is going to talk about tonight. Got a couple ideas, but if you're here joining the chat, I see we've got 5 of us right now. Thanks for joining me. We're just going to kind of run through a whole bunch of different stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get this party started. Positive growth. Okay, so whether you are an athlete, a promoter, a volunteer, a fan, a spectator, like whatever. Sorry, I keep fidgeting with this. I'm going to try to just get this lined up just like a little bit better. That's better. Here we go. Sweet. These are all things that you can do to, help this move in the way that you want, right? So first things first, I think, very obvious out the gate is be nice. We had a very fortunate thing that we do in strongman. It's weird that in powerlifting, even though powerlifting is so much more of an individual sport, like what you hit on the platform has really no bearing on what somebody else is going to do. It's really much more of an individual thing. But strongman, we have this camaraderie that really draws people in and keeps them around. So the easiest thing to do is just be nice. I've been to competitions where, I didn't have some chalk. Somebody provided me some. I've used other people's wrist wraps. I've used other people's elbow sleeves, things like that. So, if we want this good, positive, nurturing environment, the first thing that you can do is be nice. You have to excuse me. I got a little bit of the sniffles. Going to try not to sniff all over the place, but excuse me. So be nice, right? And this doesn't just mean at a competition. This means being proactive and being helpful in discussion boards or chat rooms, or just being present at even presentations like this. Okay, it's very easy to get swarmed up in the negative, but always try to look for the positives in situations, right? There's always good things to be found. So be nice to everybody is a really, really just easy one that you should cultivate day in, day out. 2, be helpful. Be helpful, okay? It doesn't take too much to be helpful, but I think a lot of people miss out on this in certain ways. And let me give you some examples. Sometimes, I run this Florida Strongman Club Facebook group, okay? And a lot of times people will jump in from out of town that are traveling and, hey, I'm going to be in this area. Are there any strongman gyms? And some people will just say oh, hit up this person. Or somebody will comment in and say yeah, there are gyms there. That is not helpful in any way, shape, or form. Let's say, I'm in Bradenton, Florida. Somebody's going to be in my area. It doesn't take too much if that I train out of CrossFit Havoc. If you already know that, first off, you can just tag me if you don't know, and I will easily like pop in and slide in and say, hey, I'm at CrossFit Havoc. Here's the location. You can contact me. Like, feel free to reach out, or like just link the gym that you know is in that area. Don't just like kind of be vague. Like, try to remove a step or two for somebody and give them easier access like to that thing, right? Or like, hey, are there any competitions coming up in this time? Don't just say yes. Take like literally 2 minutes to go to Iron Podium. If you just Google Iron Podium with the name of that competition, you can really quickly grab the link and drop it in that comment box. Or same with like a YouTube video. If somebody's asking for help on, let's just say like a circus dumbbell, I know, for example, like the Lucas Hatton video series has been pretty helpful for me on the circus dumbbell. It takes a minute to go to YouTube and type in Lucas Hatton circus dumbbell, copy the link, paste it, and send it over. So, it's very easy to just say like, go look this up, but, go one step further and take a minute. It's these little things. Like, I often talk about, with some of my clients, like tracking their foods and stuff. Like, how much time do you spend on Instagram, Facebook, or just like messing around on your phone? You have enough time to log and track your foods, and you also have enough time to like be proactive and go grab a link for something, or just give a little bit more detail in these like comments and discussion boards. So that extends to with be nice and be helpful at competitions. Like, if somebody is coming into their first or one of their first competitions, ask gently and respectfully, like, if you can help them out with something, right? You see somebody struggling with a sandbag, or they've already come up and told you like, hey, this is my first competition. Sometimes people are not going to be receptive whatsoever to your help. And that is very cool. Like, that's fine. For many different reasons, they might be that way, but like, at least give the opportunity for you to show them something. And I always like to, clarify with things like techniques, like, hey, this might not work for you. This is what I like to do. This is what some other people like to do. So that's what's really cool about Strongman in general, is there's really like a lot of different ways to approach things, right? We have the farmer's carry coming up at World's Strongest Manatee, and there's 3 or 4 different ways just to start a farmer's carry, right? You could have your hands in the middle, hands close to the back, hands up front. You could stagger your feet wide like a sprinter. You could go in even stance. So just kind of give some options and like tell people, hey, like, try this out. It might work for you. And like, if it doesn't, no worries. You're going to be creating a good connection and like benefit yourself, benefit others, benefit the competition, and benefit the sport just by like being somebody that is willing to help other people. Okay. So we got be nice and be helpful. Yep. Sean Fennelly, Trapper Kane in the building. Check mark. Be nice. All right. So next one is support what you like. Okay. Support what you like. Now, an easy way to do this is, let's say you have a particular show or a person that you really, really think does a good job. That's going to be juxtaposed with people that you don't think do a good job and you don't think do things right. So it's really important to preserve your energy and like put it into the good and not the bad, right? So likes, comments, shares, these things are all free. For me, I do almost all of my marketing on social media. So just giving a little like, a little comment is always super appreciated. It helps get the word out. It helps get exposure. It helps grow what I'm doing. And again, if you like this, it's putting positive growth into more of what you want to see. Now, this is an interesting concept because, Eric Bischoff, the wrestling promoter from WCW in the 90s, I think his book he called Controversy Creates Cash. Okay. So they would do things on purpose to like spark sometimes negative heat and get attention. So attention is a currency. If somebody's out there, they're posting all the time and you like can't not stand them, it's actually best to do nothing, to not get involved with that, because even if you think you need to scream from the rooftops and the mountaintops that like, oh, what you're doing is ridiculous, or like, I don't like it, it doesn't matter. You have some sort of like negative take on that situation, like giving that attention is going to boost that. It also doesn't make you look any good to like just shoot down on somebody. This all kind of feeds into each other. Be nice, be helpful, and support what you like. Like part of being nice sometimes is just being neutral to the things that you don't really care for. You know, um, a lot of people don't care for the way that Mitch Hooper presents himself on social media, but like he's playing the game to get engagements and views and comments. So, like for example, after the incident at the CrossFit Games in like August of 2000 last year, 24, Mitch Hooper came out and did a whole video about like, oh, CrossFit needs to change, like CrossFit's a disaster, this and that. And while he is a strongman, a lot of people were jumping on this and saying like, you don't know what you're talking about, like leave CrossFit alone, like you're not a part of this sport, like find it funny when people call him like Mitch Pooper, blah blah blah. Yeah, he's doing stuff for clicks, likes, and views, but if you are commenting, if you are saying something, you are raising awareness for him, you're giving him more energy and exposing him to other people. So if you truly don't like what somebody like that has to say, don't say anything, right? Like I always kind of like to think of how, things work in the pro wrestling world, whether you like that or not. And it's kind of like getting a reaction in one way or the other is a net positive because again, attention is currency. So if you're going out there and like giving something a negative energy, you're boosting it. All right. The worst thing is apathy. The worst thing is, when there's no reaction or anything whatsoever. That's very, very telling. Okay. Now, if you are somebody that is promoting, right, or you're trying to like put the word out on something and you're getting that apathetic, like very neutral, nothing, no engagement, no responses, then one of the things that you need to do is be open to change. Be open to change. This is a whole big topic we're going to dive into right now, but you need to be open that, hey, maybe what you're doing is not working. Listen, we all have come to a point in our time where we're hitting a plateau with a lift or some project we're doing or something in our life. And it's just this thing where, insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. So if something you're doing is not working, you just need to be very open and honest about, okay, I'm not getting the results that I want. So like, what is it? And sometimes you can be able to solve that on your own. Sometimes you're able to assess and fix whatever it is, but many times you need to like go outside of yourself and ask for help. So if you're an athlete, positive growth for yourself, which will lead you to getting better as an athlete, which will lead to better strongman competitions for your community, right? Like hiring a coach can really make a pretty big impact. So that was a moment that I had for myself, right? For years and years and years, I struggled with my overhead press. And listen, I know a lot about coaching and training, but I don't know everything. I thought I knew enough, but results are your reality. Cannot say that enough. Results are your reality. So if you're like wanting to be an elite level strongman, but your overhead in hard numbers is not good enough to score you points at the biggest shows, then you are not going to make it. Okay. And now that's also true with, again, these like promoters and stuff. Like you can come out and like have this like hype train, or you can post on social media a million different times. You can come out and like print what you think are really cool t-shirts, like this and that, because you think it's going to like do some sort of net positive. But if you're not getting what you want out of it, like in my end, like clients or participants to my shows, participations in my strongman training sessions, then obviously what I'm doing is not working. Like it's a big problem that a lot of people have. And it's easy because our ego gets in our way of thinking like, I know everything. It can be very humbling and, upsetting sometimes to like accept that what you think was good enough is actually nowhere near cutting it for what you need to get the job done. So that can be a whole thing as like an individual, like for you as an athlete. But what you need to remember is that, you know, if you are actually improving yourself, you're improving your community, right? So I'm going to actually lead that right into the next one. How do I put this? Treat yourself first. Okay. So, treat yourself first, fix yourself first, heal yourself first, whatever you want to do. But this is this concept of, you know, if you want to help other people and you're always giving your energy out to other people and you're never taking the time to like be good to yourself, like your cup is empty. Your cup needs to be full in order to give and provide to others. Okay. Now, this is a very important concept for literally anything that you could do whatsoever. But I want to first just talk to like you guys that are athletes only. Okay. As I said earlier, if you are a very good, successful athlete, you are going to just immediately like earn more respect. You're going to earn the right for people to like listen to you. You know, a lot of people have, in fairness, I'm not trying to be rude, have like accomplished nothing really relatively, and they think that they can come out and like start telling people like, hey, I have all the answers. Like, hey, I have, you know, the proof that this technique or this method or this whatever works. So you need to be somebody who is proof of action, and you need to be somebody that is like all the way invested. It's a very important concept for me to lead from the front. I truly believe, like from the bottom of my heart, that if I'm not pushing myself to the absolute highest degree, like nobody should listen to me. It's important to be invested and prove that like what I'm telling other people to do is things that I apply in my daily life because it works. Okay. So when you are showing up as hard as you can for yourself, when you're open to change and you have a mindset of constant improvement, then you can create this in other people as well. So a lot of these things, again, all start with the self. It all starts with the individual. A lot of people really do the same thing over and over and over and over again, and they get either the same results or they get worse results. And let's just talk about like some shows. The reality of the way some of these things are going in Strongman right now is some shows that have been around for a long time have always been run the same way, and they get less involvement every year. And these are some things that have been regarded as particularly prestigious in years past. Okay, but once again, results are reality. So you have to be open to what's going on in your world, right? Like if you want to have the best, like biggest strongman competition, you need to listen to what people are saying and give them what they want, right? It's not just good enough to throw out into the world what you think is best. Now, that being said, be the change you want to see in the world. So let's kind of just come back to all this stuff we were talking about earlier. Like if you think that shows need to be really, 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 really super heavy, right? Like that is a certain style and a way that things go. And I'm not saying that that is a bad style show whatsoever. You need to demonstrate like why this is important, like why it's a good, valuable target for athletes. And also you need to like incentivize athletes. The nature of the game, it's 2025. Like there needs to be some level of flair to your promotions. Like some people run really, really, really great, phenomenal shows. Like when you show up on game day, everything is really organized. Everything's put together really well, but like you would have no idea whatsoever based on the build up to that event. So if you think that you're just going to capitalize based on, you know, the way things have always been, that's incorrect, because social media is a real thing. We all like the like little bits of the flashy stuff, and it works. So I have never previously done things like athlete announcements for shows. Like, you know, every single person now is getting a shout out on my social media, try to make an image, a brand, say, hey, this is one of our athletes coming up, give them a quick little write up. And that doesn't take too much time at all. And I used to think it was like not a big deal, but like, listen, people really like that. And I do want my athletes to feel important because they are. And that's all part of giving them a good experience, right? It's nurturing this thing like from the very beginning. So when you do that, when you like position yourself and talk about things and promote things in a certain light, like you are setting an expectation in people's minds that this is going to be like a good, fun event and they will be taken care of there. So that's a really good, like kind of into the next one is, let's just say, set expectations. Okay. There's a lot of different things that could be said about set expectations, but your belief creates your reality. As you probably know, if you've listened to anything that I talk about, the placebo effect is so, so, so real in more ways than we could ever possibly imagine. So you need to be like very considerate about when you're getting involved in strongman at any level, whether you're an athlete, a coach, a volunteer, a promoter, or just like a supporter, right? Like you going into an event thinking like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. You're setting your mind up to think like, yeah, it's going to be a shit show. Okay. And that will just create your reality all day long. Now, this also like goes back to support what you like, right? Don't just waste time in the negative. If you do start to think like, wow, this thing is terrible, like if I go, I'm going to have a really bad time, like try to frame it with what you have going on that's really good. Let's say you're going to a competition and it didn't end up, as you're coming in the few days before, it's not appearing like it's going to be as great of an experience as you desired. Let's look at it from this perspective. You've been training really hard. You've been improving. You've been progressing. So even if this show and game day ends up being pretty awful, in some instances, this is the case where things are really, really overhyped. Just go in knowing like, hey, I've been training really hard for this. I made some big progress. I made some improvements. So whatever happens, like on game day, like I'm in a great place because I'm stronger than where I was before. That's a much more empowering position and is going to give you a better experience than if you're going in just like sweating about like what a mess something was, right? Just so true, right? And this is also the same again with every other thing that goes on in your life. Set the expectation in your mind about how you're going to react if somebody posts something ridiculous online. We all know people who like have a particular brand or style or way that they promote themselves on social media. And instead of just like getting in fits about it all the time, like just, think, what a knucklehead. Boom, move right along. Okay. You could think some like pretty nasty things, right? Like don't let that negative energy consume you. Like, this person's posting again. Like what a effing idiot or whatever, like that's too harsh and too negative. Instead think like, what a knucklehead, and like move right on along past it. I just cannot tell you enough this concept of like, supporting what you like and like the importance of where you put your energy. It really is like so critical, right? So in a book that I read last year, it's called Reality Transurfing. They talked about this concept of an energy pendulum, right? So energy pendulum just swings back and forth, right? And what happens is, you're caught on this energy structure if you were on the positive or the negative, okay? So really your goal, if you don't like something, is to just escape it entirely. One of the best, easiest examples of this is we all know somebody in our lives who says like, oh, I hate politics, can't stand politics. I have a family member, every time I talk to them, every time, it's like, oh, I hate politics, I just can't stand it. Like, no, you don't. You love that. Like, you don't know, you don't understand what you're doing right now, but like you actually love this and you're caught up in giving this stuff your energy. Even if, let's just say politics, you're over here on the positive end, like, oh, I love all this stuff. You can use that positively to your advantage. But if you're negative in here, you're caught in this thing back and forth. So don't get swept up in that. So, all right, let's keep moving on into positive growth. So be nice, be helpful. support what you like, and very importantly, just don't give any energy to what you don't like. Be open and honest to change. Treat and take care of yourself first. You need to have a mindset of constant improvement. This is a very quick, rapid time that we're all living in right now, where things are being innovative and expanding and growing and changing constantly. Okay. And the truth is, you have to just keep up with what's going on out in the world in order to be good, be present, and not get, left in the rear, basically. So set expectations. Always set the right expectations. When you're going into certain events, specific, just like in a competition, lay out a good strategy and a game plan. When you're going and just looking at the event as a whole, like frame it the right way in your mind so you can look at it positively. Next, easy. Volunteer. Okay, volunteering is a really important one to me because obviously I'm a promoter and I really do depend on the help of really, really amazing people. But I want you to think about like the net effect of, creating an experience for somebody else. I want you to think about the absolute best strongman competition that you've ever been to in your entire life. Okay, just think about it for a second. You might know exactly which one that was. What are some of the elements of that? Typically, it had a whole bunch of people helping out. You were able to walk right up to your weight in a swift, timely manner. You knew when you were going to go. You had enough equipment to warm up with, or maybe not, who knows, whatever. But the most important thing is usually these well-run shows are due to volunteers. So if you want more of that, then this is another example of leading from the front. If you are somebody who just like sits back and never helps out in any way whatsoever at shows, like why would you expect anybody to? Really, right? If you as an athlete want a good experience, there have to be good volunteers. So think about how you can create that moment for somebody else, right? Like you never know like what sort of positive change and spark and growth you're going to inspire in somebody by providing them a really good experience. And sometimes this comes from even like plate loaders and spotters, right? Like I have, you guys, I don't know if you know Rob. Rob has been at a lot of my shows. He's a really big jack dude, wears glasses, and he's been a back spotter and loader for a ton of my events. A lot of people don't even know this guy's name, but Rob is in the back like shouting like good positive things like you got this, like let's go. You've been putting in the work, like let's hit it. Like even in a capacity, if you're not a volunteer and you're just a supporter, like being nice and like shouting these good positive things at people is going to uplift the athlete. It's going to give them a better experience. They're most likely going to want to come back and do another competition. And there's all these different things that could come out of it, such as like they could be a good training partner for you in the future. They could be a really awesome social media connection. They could do, there's so many things, everybody that's owned a good gym at some point in time started because they had a really good experience in strength sports and they wanted to provide that to others. So you never know like what that is going to do, right? So just doing all these things and like being a good person in any way, especially volunteering where you're really up close and intimate in the action, you have the opportunity not just to like help run a smooth show that creates buzz and excitement and energy for everybody else, but you get to impact people on a very individual level, right? Now, a lot of you people might know Cole. Cole might be in here right now. He watches a lot of these. Cole has volunteered at like 4 or 5 of my shows, maybe more. I don't know, maybe like 10. But I know that like people have remarked to me like, oh yeah, I remember Cole. I saw him at whatever, the last Hope for the Holidays. Man, that guy was awesome. Right. And it's just like a little thing like that. Like even if you just see that person from across the room, it's going to spark a good memory, just push a little bit of like positive boost in that person in the moment. So like the effect of being a good volunteer or a good supporter like cannot be overstated. Like you're throwing so much good and throwing so much positive out there into the world that you never know what's going to come back around. Okay. So covering a lot here, but going to kind of wrap this up with what I think is like the most important. Okay. So This is something that I learned from what I say was coined by Elliot Hoss. Elliot Hall. Eating over my words. This was something that was coined by Elliot Hulse. So Cosme is here. He says, volunteering is great for promoters too on learning what to do and not to do if you're learning to promote, especially. I could not agree more. Okay. So volunteering, before I get to this, volunteering is another really tremendous thing for anybody, regardless of what level you're at. So Cosme's saying here that for promoters, like you get to see exactly what's going to work and what's not going to work. Okay. When I went into Florida's Strongest Man 2 years ago, I really liked the way that Alan Colley ran some of his lanes, and I adopted that practice. And also too, when I went to USS Nationals in June, I really liked the way that they organized all their heats, and I implemented that too. These were only things that, well, one, I volunteered at, the other, I participated, just being proactive, that I only learned from like being an active member of this sport. So shout out. All right. Real, raw, and authentic. Okay. This is so important. This is so important. Maybe the most important, because if you can tap into, being real, being raw, and being your authentic true self, I actually think that a lot of these other things are just going to happen automatically. Right. So what does that mean? That means not putting yourself into like some box or identity that you think you have to be in, right? Like Strongman, there's a lot of like brands and like subcultures and cliques and like groups, and we all want to be part of a tribe. But what makes tribes so particularly strong is the strength of the individuals. So going back to like treating yourself first, when you're tapping into all the things that you love most about life, and that is, all your hobbies outside of Strongman, that is, your partner, if you have one, your friends, your family, more hobbies, things you like to do on the outside, like connect to nature, all of that stuff. The more you can do to like tap into the true self, the bigger and stronger and more full your cup is going to be to give to other people. And then on the other end, it's important to know that like it's obvious when somebody is being inauthentic. I'm not going to name names. I won't do it, but you can probably think of somebody right now that is like trying to be something that they are not. They are using like rage bait on social media. They're acting a certain way, and like their online presence in absolutely no way reflects like who they really are as a person. Everybody sees it from a mile away, and it does nobody any good. It's like a put off. Like people are going to be less inclined to support you. So like that's that. Be your real, raw, authentic self. Like don't just get caught up in, trends and things that are popular just because they are popular. Like staying true to yourself is like the most important thing that you can do, right? And this is cool because we get to bring so much to the table, like from our own unique experiences. Like I said earlier, in Strongman, the thing that's so cool about Strongman is there are like a million different ways to do all of these different events. It's very different from powerlifting and weightlifting and even like things like CrossFit, where it's much more standardized. And like in powerlifting, there's really only like 3 ways to deadlift. If you want to get really, really like super into it, maybe 5, 6, like I don't know. But when you're doing a farmer's walk, like I said, I can think of like 6 positions like off the top of my head, maybe 9, maybe more, right? Like, cause you have like 3 ways 3 placements that you can go on the handles. You have like 3 ways you can put your grip. There's like 4 ways you can put your feet. There's all of these different experiences and techniques that people bring to the table. How many times have you been to a competition and you saw somebody with a different background like use this technique that you never even thought of doing? That's because of their own individual experience that they brought to the table. So that only comes by being your real, raw, authentic self. Now, this is not just like, the physical techniques that you bring to something, but like the mindset and the mental way you think about things and approach things. So I've already mentioned in this video a couple of times, listen, I love pro wrestling. I absolutely love it. So I actually think about like how a really good wrestling show is structured and try to put some elements of that into a strongman show. Here's an example. Like if you're watching a pay-per-view for wrestling or any show for that matter, they always start the show with one of the like more exciting events. So it always starts out really, really hot. What does that do? That gets the crowd excited. That will get in strongman, it'll get the athletes excited. So it sets a good tone for the rest of the day. If you were to show up and the very first event is an absolute snoozer and you have zeros left and right, like the audience, is going to be like, well, what the heck's going on? And then because like most of them honestly don't know much about strongman, so they're like, well, that's weird. Why is everybody failing? It'll kind of zap the energy out right away, but it'll also put a bad taste in the mouth of a lot of athletes. So you want something like the first one and or the second one, something very early on in the show to be really exciting and really captivating, to like throw the energy really high and hopefully maintain that the rest of the day. So that's something like, again, I bring because I'm thinking about like, that's what pro wrestling does. Let's start it really exciting and awesome and fun right out the gate so that everybody's active, alert, and engaged like the whole day. Okay, so that's like one unique thing. I'll just say one other thing on myself too is I've done a lot of comedy and improv comedy over the years, something you may not know about me. And improv teaches you a lot of different things, but the rule number one is yes and. Whenever you're presented with a situation in a scene, you always give it the affirmative and then figure out what you're going to do on top of that. Like adding a negative to the situation to negate something, again, it's negative energy. We're putting like a block up against that. We don't want that. We have to deal with the reality in the moment and the here and the now, and then address it, whether it's something that's like really, really positive and good, or something that may be like a little like harmful and like difficult to overcome. I shouldn't say harmful. Let's just say something challenging to overcome. We acknowledge it at face value, yes, and what are you going to do about it to make it better, whether it's a good or a more challenging start. So that's just kind of some mindset things there that I have used personally for real, raw, and authentic. I guess if I have one more thing to say about that, because I could go on and on and on, the last thing is real, raw, and authentic. My background, I started at Metroflex Gym in Arlington, Texas, home of Ronnie Coleman, right? Branch Warren, Johnny Jackson. And if you know anything about that gym, it is a hardcore training facility. Literally by name, Metroflex Gym, a hardcore training facility. So this is slamming the weights, screaming, grunting, this and that. And for a long, long, long time, that was a big influence on me. And I thought that like the way, not any other way. I thought the way to train was hardcore. So it was always like really over the top intensity and stuff. But I eventually like kind of came to a point where, hey man, this ain't working for me. This ain't working for me. And ultimately, like I'm just kind of a little too angry sometimes. And anger is not a useful emotion, right? Like it blinds us to being focused in the moment, and it just is not an energetically powerful state. So once I started shifting a lot of like my self-talk, accepting that I needed help, and coming back around, I've like gotten into like all sorts of other stuff. I wear shirts with freaking smiley faces on them because like I choose joy, I choose happiness. And since I have tried to integrate and cultivate so much more of that in my life, it has helped me be real, raw, and authentic, which helped me take care of myself first, which helped me go into a mindset of constant improvement, which is overall just naturally made me more nice. It's given me more energy and more inspiration to be helpful to others. It's helped me shift my energy into the things that I like and I enjoy. It's helped me set my mindset and expectations in the right way. And it's given me the energy and the desire to volunteer and help people in other places. So that was a conditioning program like that I had to overcome in my mind because I was not really being true and real, raw, and authentic, like to my true self. And now that I have like become a little bit more of that, we are always a constantly growing and evolving individual, no matter who you are. It has helped me to do all of these things. So to sort of wrap all of this up, the most important thing that you can do is be real, raw, and authentic to your true self. Do not put yourself into these boxes. You need to focus as much energy as possible into living life the way that you want, and it will give you such boundless energy to do all of this other stuff. It's going to come second nature to improve at your craft, to help out other people, You're going to get a taste of success, and you're going to say, man, I want everybody to get a taste of this. So you'll want to volunteer. You'll want to, give tips and tricks to other people. It's really just like, it's so powerful. And you also, they say your vibe attracts your tribe. I absolutely cannot believe like how much support I get. It is mind blowing. Truly. Got 80 people signed up for World's Strongest Manatee. The Florida Strongman Club, which just passed its 4th year being active on Facebook, is almost at 800 members. The Strongman Club, clubstrongman.com, we're at, I think, 37 members. It's absolutely incredible. Not to mention the people that I know and get to hang out with and talk with, whether it's in person, on the internet, at shows, like, wow, they are the coolest people of all time. And that only is coming because of like choosing to be real, raw, and authentic, not putting myself in boxes, being open to change, and taking care of myself first so my cup is more full for other people. So if you want to positively grow Strongman, don't be a butthole. Be cool, be nice, be real, raw, and authentic. Okay, so that is that. We got Mark Cox here. My favorite memory was yelling at the crowd to get loud mid-lift at World's Strongest Manatee. Absolutely, so good. Mark Cox coming back for World's Strongest Manatee yet again. So I'm going to open the floor to a minute. I see we got 9 people still in here with me. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. But if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, ideas, anything else, like happy to field it. I'll give it about, let's say 90 seconds here. Then I'm going to get some water, and in just a little bit, I'm going to be jumping on the Alabama Strongman stream to talk World's Strongest Manatee and some other stuff. We'll see where the conversation leads, but we'll be with Chuck Ellison and Trey Godboll. Chuck is going to be coming down from Alabama to live stream World's Strongest Manatee. Just locked that in and secured that today. Very excited about that. Good to have another live stream. And my goal for that one is to have one of the biggest strongman live streams in the country this year. So I'm hoping we get 2,000 views on this thing. We had about 1,000 for Beast of the Bay, which is awesome. Incredible. There's even people watching from the UK. How about that? Super cool. So guys, if you have any comments, again, would love to hear something. If you've got a question, would love to hear from you. But just be real. Be real. World's Strongest Manatee, let's go. Yeah, Rob. Nick, what's up, Nichols? What's up, man? World's Strongest Manatee was all positive vibes for my first time. Now that the pec is healing, can't wait to be back. Big Sean Nichols, my man. Yeah, brother. Hope we get you back sooner than later, man. It'll be great to have you back real soon. This year's going to be great. We'd love to see you if you can make it out, if you want to come volunteer or anything like that. We'd love to have you, or just come out and be a supporter. All this stuff is super helpful. Rob Sanchez, it'll be awesome to have you coming back, brother. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I really try to create such a good experience for people that they want to go out of their way to come again. So Mark's coming back. Sean Fennelly's coming back. Rob's coming back. Sean Nichols, recovering from your pec tear. I'm very sorry about that, brother. But it means a lot to me that you're saying you want to come back. So it's incredible. So it's all about changing and growing and kind of, amplifying it for everybody else. Because if you are somebody that is really stoked, people are going to be looking at you and saying, well, what is that about? I want to get excited about something too. You had a really good time with that. I want to have a good time with that. And in so many ways you can control and benefit that experience for yourself and for other people. So we're going to end it there. Guys, I appreciate you watching. Had some good viewership tonight. As always, any of my social media channels, at Stephen M. Coyne. It's the same on YouTube here, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Twitter is now X, the everything platform. Same on everything else. Would like to invite you to check out my private community, clubstrongman.com. We're running a 7-day free trial right now. So we do a lot more videos like this. We have seminars with pro coaches and pro athletes to help you get stronger. Have some training programs. If you're in World's Strongest Manatee, there's a 12-week training program that starts Monday for that. That is free with your membership to the Strongman Club. So check it out at clubstrongman.com. We're going to end it there. Check it out in about 15 minutes on the Ellison Fitness Innovations YouTube channel, Ellison Fitness Innovations, or just look up Alabama Strongman YouTube. I'll be joining the stream in just a little bit over there. So appreciate it. Stay strong, guys, and have a championship night.